Welcome to another match analysis video. This one is on one of my favorite layers of all time, RAAS V1, and features a good insight into how RAAS works, some of the strategy underlying RAAS, and then a lot of the interplay between squads on offense and defense, leapfrog maneuvers, mobility, stuff like that. It also features quite a few more mistakes on my end than the previous videos. And this match is actually a very interestingly good insight into exactly what the commander is, what the commander should be doing, and how the commander kind of works within the context of squad. You won't hear any of that till the very end of the video though, so stay tuned. Also, just as a side note, this is a full Blueberry squad minus one clan member. Without any further ado, let's get into that.
Advance and secure. Приказ закрепиться во всем районе вперед.
Wow, there's a lot of infantry squads that got made, so I don't even have to lock. I'm gonna get like 3 people. That's the first time in a long time.
Yeah, I'm booting up squad.
Tank and main commander.
Shh. Bad icy.
But Captain, I want the tank and main.
Bad icy. Grab the tiger, guys. Go for the tiger. I'll approve. If somebody else gets it, not the end of the world.
It's not
Good.
it.
That's not gonna happen.
It's a fucking car.
Okay. Guess we're back to the 80s, boys. Alright, hop in. We may be taking a heli in a second here, we're about to find out.
Oh shit, no drops.
Let's make sure we get at least 2 AT, 2 medics, or 1 medic's fine, worst case. But 2 AT for sure. We have no AT right now.
AT, but I can't get it. I can't take any of the rolls.
Thank you for splitting it up. Do you know if I drive?
That's because we have a machine and we have a grenade bomb.
Slayer and Muffin
and
Man grab AT.
Yeah,
We'll let the new marksman play with his new toy. This is recorded right after the drop of B20, which is why I'm letting the marksman keep the new SVDM, and why all the logies appear to be transports on the map. Just
Squad
fire
one,
support,
hold back.
Slayer, and Muffin. Switch to AT, please.
Copy. I won't see a sandwich. I love you, Captain.
No, I like driving. I'm indecisive.
I don't always feel unwarmly towards you.
He's going for a forward thought.
Can or cannot trust.
And you enjoy all the recoil.
You can.
Yeah, it's heli and calf, yeah.
Yeah, you come take the scope,
Yeah.
machine guns,
Nice.
Or
It's
it
true.
would be someone
Who
who
wants to
can be
smoke?
trusted is what they're saying. So you think that they can't be trusted even though they can be trusted.
Alright, let's talk RAAS. So, RAAS V1 has 3 lanes. Every lane has 7 flags, meaning the 4th flag is going to be the midpoint. If it goes east lane, the midpoint's going to appear somewhere in this vicinity. I believe there's one other that I can't quite remember, but somewhere over there. Central lane is going to be this bog area, this camp, even all the way down south to here. I believe there's one other in the vicinity. Once again, don't quite remember. And then west lane can be here, 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 or it can even go down to lower mogee. Usually in the beginning what I'll do is I will announce that to everyone, and I'll try to get 1 infantry squad heading for each midpoint if possible, and fobbing up as many locations as possible as they can until we know for certain where the midpoint is actually going to be or which lane we're actually going down. Now, if it's entirely up to me, I honestly like all of the lanes for different reasons. I like going east because there's such a wide variety of points that I have a specific fob network that I like to set up that isn't very common for blueberries to do, so I like handling that one for that reason. I love handling the west lane as well because it's usually neglected. The teams will most often really congregate in this area and will leave the west lane entirely open. Similarly, it's going to take the US team in this situation much longer to determine lane than it is for us. We will usually know lane by 2nd flag, and we will always confirm lane by 3rd flag. The US, on the other hand, will never confirm lane on 2nd flag. Their first back cap could be the south airfield or over in this vicinity, but their second back cap will always be north airfield. So that still does not clarify lane. And then just to make matters worse, for the central and the east lane, the next back cap is going to one of the Novos, meaning that it is entirely possible for the US team not to know their lane, or not to know their lane until you actually see the midpoint, which obviously puts them at a big disadvantage. However, they will see west lane by third flag, as it will go to Quarry, but that still gives us plenty of time to prepare there early, and we can usually get complete control over the west lane before they even know it's going to be west lane, which is a lot more difficult to do in center or east. And then when it comes to central lane, it's also a very good push because it's going to be the third cap 66% of the time on east and central lane. So if you start pushing and building fobs in the general midpoint vicinity, you can just have your people push Novo and effectively rush their third flag and be contesting them before they can even reach the mid, thus usually halting their progress. It's also not very far from the east lane, so you're pretty flexible from the center to the west or to the east, regardless of where lane pops up. If it's just up to me, usually I'll go central lane for that reason, but it's not just up to me. What I tend to do is fill in the blanks for the team. In this particular staging phase, you're going to notice that I don't talk to the team a lot for a couple of reasons. First of all, this is my first match of the day. I think I just woke up. I'm pretty tired. I barely got through staging and managed to control my own squad and get everything going there, and I have yet to actually talk to the rest of the team. And then the second reason being that I already see somebody going roughly center of the map, and then I see somebody going roughly east map after when I choose west lane. So I ultimately end up going opposite of them to the place that's usually not contested by either team, where I can have a nice, easy early game and not have to worry too much and fob my midpoints and probably not run into contact and just focus on managing my blueberries while the rest of the team gets roughly in the vicinity of the other midpoints and is in position to support those. And one last thing, the reason why I didn't take a heli is because I wanted to let both helis be available for east and central lane support, since I figured this would be uncontested, or potentially to do backcaps. Most of the west lane backcaps actually do kind of go down the center of the map anyway, and our team is in that vicinity. So even though I could have taken a heli and then had my logi kind of skirt around and drop a few backcappers and still had a fob on a midpoint, still be moving to meet my logi for a second fob on the midpoint, I ultimately decide just to take the logi straight for the midpoints and leave backcaps for the rest of my team and try to manage that as we go. A little bit lazy of me, and it's the reason why I wanted to grab the Tiger or the scout car off game start so that I could have somebody going through west lane backcaps, but ultimately it's what I choose to do, and it's not the end of the world because we have so many people going towards the location of second and third backcaps for west lane.
Opachki.
Gadget style.
Heli cap. Speak again, I swear to God.
Stop.
Stop.
I'm gonna handle west lane.
No, you.
I'll let you guys know what lane it's gonna be as soon as I know.
You goddamn right.
I'm your daddy.
Don't say that.
Ожидаем приказаний.
My only daddy's Joe Rogan.
These new trucks change everything. I want to see how fast our west lane
Captain, I'd
pushes.
say that last game went well.
That wasn't bad.
100 tick win. That's pretty decent.
Yep.
Oh, yeah,
20
I'm
from
still,
mid.
I'm still getting used to the whole command thing because that's only like my third time having to do it, or fourth.
Yeah, I prefer not to take it unless I'm in a small squad, but if no one else takes it, I grab it.
Yeah, I wait about a minute into it, and then if no one takes it, I just take it so we can start getting the timers going.
Same.
You'd think they'd put better mufflers on this truck.
Поздравляю с назначением.
Okay, so on the way to move mark, I'm going to be dropping a couple people off here. It's going to be, we'll do Joe Friday and Fuzzy. I'm going to drop you guys off on that 6-star. That's one of the potential midpoints for West Lane. Then I'm going to head up to move mark, going to fob up, and then probably drive back down and set another fob on 6-star. And we'll cover 2 of the 3 potential West Lane midpoints. We may start going for South Mogee, but by then we should know whether or not it's actually going to go West Lane, so we may be relocating entirely if the flags go a different way. So always be ready for that call out. We have to stay very mobile in early game RAAS. Can't afford to be waiting on people who have walked a kilometer away to come back to the truck, so don't spread way too far or you may be left behind. Now there's 2 different approaches I could take here. Lower Mogee is by far the hottest point I need to mid, so I can either push that first to start fighting for it to give me the best possible odds of getting a hold of it early and beating the rush there, or I can avoid it and then avoid contact for as long as possible while fobbing easier midpoints and then not have to deal with trying to wrestle my people away from that flag should it not go west lane. While I'm leading clan members, I'll probably choose the riskier option, but while I'm leading blueberries, I'm definitely going to do the safer ones and just take it a little more slow and a little more chill and deal with Lower Mogee if it becomes a problem. Now, as I'm driving up to Bolovia on my move mark, I'm going to drop a couple people at Sokolov who can cover Sokolov and Sokolov overpass. I'm going to continue to driving up to Bolovia at that point and drop my first fob, which is a good area to work on any potential west lane midpoint. And then I'm either going to come back north and fob up Sokolov, or I'm going to go east and fob Lower Mogee, depending on how I'm feeling. At this point, we're most likely going to get confirmation of where the lane is going, so I'm also looking at the map to get that.
Joe's
Joe
got
Friday, you're supposed to jump out.
Yep, Joe Friday, you're out here.
might be it.
Engineer, hop out.
Got it.
Thank you.
I'm out.
Okay, everybody go ahead and hop out here. When I dump radio, dump a third of the ammo and a third of the build. 600 build, 400 ammo. Actually, hold tight. Upper Petrivka is... let me check this.
Upper Petrivka is
West lane.
Squad 3 will cover that next back cap.
West lane. Upper Petrivka is west lane, everybody. It's the only place it can go. We chose wisely, gentlemen. Points are coming to us. Okay, I need 2 people with me in the truck. Let's get the optic medic, let's get IC, and Rage Fire. Hop back in the truck with me. So now that west lane is confirmed, I do need to deal with Lower Mogee, even if it is hot. So I build a fob a little ways to the west. I actually built it way too far to the west, even stretching the hab all the way over. It's basically a useless fob. I should have just dropped a rally here and then moved closer. I'd actually built the hab closer, but hindsight is 2020. Anyway, I was going to move in with the guys, but I now want to go pick up my other 2 guys or build a fob there if that becomes the midpoint. So after dropping the hab, I'm going to have my 2 guys push Lower Mogee and let me know how it's going, and then drive back to my other 2 guys so I can fob 3 out of the 4 midpoints and pretty much be in good shape regardless of wherever it pops up. Now, while I'm building this final fob, I want to talk about supply. I brought 1800, which is enough for 3 fobs, and fortunately for me, I was able to get the helicopter over here, giving me build supply to replenish me, so I didn't have to go all the way back to main. But normally in early game RAAS like this, I'll honestly take 2400, or I will specifically try to marry a helicopter to me to just keep bringing me loads of 600 or 1200 build because of the amount of early game fobs I like to set up in preparation for potential lanes. But ultimately, when I'm running with blueberries, I tend to take 18 because I need more ammo. It just takes 1 GL and 1 marksman to wildly fire, and then 1 AT to switch to MG, and suddenly all of the ammo on your truck is gone. When I'm working with my clan, I can trust there to be a lot more discipline around ammo and for AT to always be keeping rockets, but that's just not the case with a random squad like this. And ultimately, that lack of supplies and the fact that I never have a breather to go do a full Logi run and get myself 18 or 24 again is going to come into play in this game and is going to kind of prove to be difficult for us in the future. Anyway, while we're getting supplied by the helicopter, it's worth taking a look at East Mogee, our final back cap before the midpoint. I'm not worried whatsoever about them being able to cap it. It only takes 1 person to cap it right now. Our back caps were efficient, so there's no way in hell they're going to cap the mid out from under us, and it's going to get captured no matter what. But it does contest one of our 4 potential midpoints. If the midpoint is Lower Mogee, there is going to be a fob close to the north that we're going to have to work on, and that may potentially be an issue. But that's only a 25% chance, so I'm still building this fob and still getting ready for it to potentially appear anywhere else. Which, of course, is exactly when it does appear on Lower Mogee. Alright, you guys start pushing towards Lower Mogee.
West, I'm up.
You guys who are near the truck, hop in. Those of you walking, I will pick you up in a moment here.
What? Sorry, I was digging the ammo box.
Hop in.
I'm coming.
So I'm prioritizing in my Logi to Lower Mogee for a fob, which means I'm leaving my guys to walk, and as I'm driving, I hear the Make a Worrying call out.
Oh, that's armored. Why are we shooting it?
What is it, guys? In my very first SL guide, I took a lot of flack because I said, don't rely on your teammates for callouts, rely on the map. Do not rely on what people have to say about what's going on, rely on your ability to infer what's going on. And this is a perfect example. Shortly after this freeze frame, I hear a 50 cal, which means I know that whatever is down that road has M2. It is either a striker or an MRAP. I also know that it ran the guy over on the road because of that spinny thing that people do when they get hit in this game, and I'm tracking the movement of the triangles of every person on my team as they slowly look north to get a feeling for speed. All I'm asking for here is vehicle confirmation. I pretty much already know what happened just by looking at the map and using my ears. This is thousands of hours of experience in play, and obviously you can't really count on doing this yourself without putting serious hours into the game. But it's a good point for why I have said things like that in the past. Rely on yourself to make judgments and then ask for confirmation. Don't ask people what's going on.
It's an right by the fog. Heading north. That was the Azology and yeah, Lodge, get out of there.
Okay, don't get distracted by it unless you're AT.
He was, it was. They're heading towards you guys in the truck.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, they also got a helo go.
At this point, I'm mentally shifting to defense. We need to get a fob inside of Mogee to start, and I need to make sure that the people on the west, unless they're going to kill the Logi that they called out, which is great additional information, by the way, that I couldn't have gotten from the map, and I need to start worrying about that north fob and the new west fob that Logi's most likely going to set up, which at this point I assume will be in the river valley, near the one that we currently have going. We're on defense on lower Mogee. Keep pushing east, guys. I'm going to come pick you up in a sec, but keep pushing east, make it easy on me.
If you got lower command, I'm gonna shift to a Quarry. I can test them.
Oh, me and I see.
Go for it, we'll hold lower.
No, we're fine.
So props to Squad 3, they see that we're on the point, they want confirmation that we're going to defend so that they can push the next flag, which is perfect. We want to get an offense as early as possible. I was just about to do the same. I was just about to announce that we have defense and then probably encourage somebody to go offense, so we're on the same page here. One thing that's important to note here is that efficient backcaps in both AAS, but especially RAAS, can win games. Note here that they just finished capping their third flag after we're finished capping the fourth flag. This is down to both efficient backcaps and playing the lanes and making sure we have people in all possible locations, and ultimately it gave us an entire flag advantage. Even if they started contesting lower Mogee, we would have been able to stealth cap it because we were so far ahead. Now those of you who watched the last video will remember that there were several times in which our defense looked pretty bad, where we were getting pushed, losing cap, losing a fob on cap, and I wasn't worried whatsoever because I judged it to be totally sustainable. This is the exact opposite. Our defense looks decent, we have a fob right on the point, we have a few people here, we have some friendlies contesting that north fob, but I'm actually very worried right now. I have a lot that I need to be thinking about right now, and the first thing I want to worry about is my infantry net. I need to grab these people to the west who have lost the Logi. The Logi went somewhere north and they have no eyes, and are currently observing a helicopter to their west. I need to pick them up and get them closer to the flag so that they can start pushing northeast towards that fob mark that the other squad may be taking care of right now if we're lucky, or just have them spread out around to have a catch so that I can work on expanding our fob network. As you can see right now, that helicopter they were calling out flies directly over me from the west, so that's another thing I need to take into consideration. Once I get these guys loaded up, I start talking about how I want the infantry net to expand so that now I can start to prioritize building my fob network. Okay, start spreading out on lower Mogee. Make sure we're watching all directions, we have people in all directions, get 360 visual coverage. I don't want an attack to be on the flag unless we know it's coming 300 meters in advance. As we start driving out, I can start to think about our spawn network. I need to grab the 600 build on the flag as I drop my people off, and then start thinking about whether I want to build one east or west, which I'll talk about later. As you can see, while I'm doing this, the western fob gets proxied, which is indication that the heli landed there. And to be honest, I'm not worried about that in the slightest. I have much more pressing concerns in the way of the north fob and the vanished mystery Logi somewhere northwest. Now that I'm focusing on my network, I choose somebody to stick with me in the truck at all times. When we get to lower Mogee, everyone dismount except for Joe. Joe, you're sticking with me for a second. Stay in the truck.
Oh, 10-4.
Now once again, let me reiterate how sketchy of a situation this is. We have potential close spawn north, mystery lodging northwest. We have a way west fob that will result in a blueberry migration, which is usually not a threat, but is something that we have to pay attention to, or the fob can get proxied by a couple people who walked for a kilometer and have blisters on their feet. Similarly, the Novos are almost always fobbed, and my clanmate Icy makes a good observation that we should be watching the east for a separate blueberry migration. So there's a decent chance that we're going to get light intermittent contact from all angles with actual good concentrated attacks from the north and possibly the west, depending on where that logi went. All of this is happening while I have a squad full of blueberries who might be good, might not be good, I don't know, and I only have an extra 600 build, so I can only build one other decent fob. I decided to take the supplies west and build a better defensive fob, even though I already have one in that direction, just so I can get one close enough to be effective. I'm worried about east migrators, and I don't want to run into them and lose the truck right now. Make sure you don't cluster inside Mogee. Get a little bit of ground covers outside. I desperately don't want my blueberries to cluster right now because it's really going to get sketchy if we don't have a good defense while we're getting completely surrounded by spawns. Right now I would have my guys pushing northeast if it weren't for the fact that that fob looks contested by friendly, so I want to wait and see where we're hit from first. Massive thank you to the heli pilot this round as he continued to supply us with pretty much exactly what I wanted. I maybe could have used more build, but I wasn't communicating with him because I was totally busy and totally thinking about too many things at once, and he was a massive benefit by continuing to supply us with build so that we could continue to get our fob network up and not get fucked doing a long-ass launch run. Yeah, it's a 50 cal north of us, the heli just marked it. Probably the TAP V that passed us earlier. AT, you can go after it, but just one AT, other AT be on standby for something worse. Our mystery MRAP appears and gives us an idea of where the fob may have gone, somewhere in the general northwest. Meanwhile, we have another 600 build, so I'm looking to grab somebody else to go build another fob, probably to the east this time so we have better coverage. Rage, I'm gonna come pick you up.
North of you.
I'm gonna move to your location so I can grab supply.
They need to add.
Please repeat. I couldn't hear you over the helicopter.
Meet me on move, please.
They need to add the delay to push the top. Guys, there's enemy infantry moving. Left men's position towards the point. Like 2 or 3 guys. They have on east. A10, is that north?
A10, go ahead and rebuild it.
Yeah, northwest just up.
Yeah, the MRAP's dead.
Rebuild that.
Got it.
A10, go. Someone get a shovel on the hill.
Damien, will you rebuild hab,
I got
please?
one. Another one.
Alright, lots to break down here. First of all, A10 removed our hab, but our radio was safe, which means it's a simple rebuild. The commander basically wasted his asset unless he has people on the border ready to push us immediately, and we rebuild it just fine. And we get our first contact close to the flag, northwest. That's kind of confirming what the MRAP made us suspect. So when I get my third fob to the east, which is what I'm prioritizing right now, I'm basically in a sustainable defense where I have a good spawn network, I have an attack coming from one direction, and we have a rough idea of the source of the attack. What I need to do now is I need to organize my block and I need to organize my flank. This means I need some amount of people simply pushing into the contact, which is what I immediately ask for. I ask for my guys to push northwest into contact, and then I need some number of people flanking the spawn. Sometimes I do this with the logi truck. I drive some people around, drop a rally behind it. That's the most effective way to do it. Sometimes if I'm busy with the logi expanding our fob network, I will simply ask the engineer to spawn at a flanking fob, of which we have a few, and try to find the origin of the problem. Now my engineer is already thinking of this and already working on it. I didn't need to tell him what to do or anything. He knows his job and he is going to try to get me a mark on that fob as early as possible. Now from this point, I'm going to just kind of narrate what's happening because it stays pretty consistent for a while. The block does fine. Everybody's pushing. It's a pretty dense tree line. It's kind of hard to see the contact, but they are constantly prioritizing our west fob. So even if we get backed off a little bit, they're taking time to try to take that down, and that gives us time to push back in. We also have a western more fob that they can use to flank, and so ultimately the block is sustainable and doesn't really make much progress one way or the other. They don't push us towards cap range, and we don't really push them towards their fob. Now, I have a decision to make where I need to either go pick up the engineer or pick up somebody and rally behind where I think their fob is and try to collapse on it and try to take care of that problem definitively. Or my other option, which I'm forced into because I had kind of poor supply management this round, is to attempt to get build supply into my truck and start preparing for the next flag in line. Because while we are doing this, Quarry starts to look very good. Our team makes a pretty good push on it without any assistance needed, without any help on my end, which is nice. and it starts to look like we're getting to a sustainable neutral. So what I decide to do instead is go to an uncontested northeast fob and try to coordinate with helicopters to get supply to my truck so I can start preparing for a fast leapfrog maneuver to northern airfield. Now, of course, this is a risk. I do have a good fob network, and we are kind of holding this block, but the engineer eventually makes the call out on the fob. It's not an easy place for him to sneak in or camp, and we don't necessarily have a spawn close enough to really start proxying it and putting a ton of pressure on it, meaning that pretty much this attack is going to persist. And should another attack come from another angle, things are going to get very sketchy very quickly because I am not quickly working on resolving the first one. I am leaving myself open to be pinched here and to be put into an unsustainable defense where I am not able to control the battle and I just have to hold cap range as long as possible. The saving grace for this, of course, is the offense objective. I am willing to make this risk because even if it goes into an unsustainable defense, I am on an external spawn where I can have people spawn shift into my truck, and the point pretty much just got neutralized, meaning that as long as it's sustainable, I am totally clear to leave the defense objective. However, another complication arises. The offense starts to look less sustainable. I believe we lose a fob and simultaneously discover an enemy fob, and it becomes simple fob wars. East fob versus enemy west fob, fight for cap range, probably not going to resolve itself in anyone's favor consistently anytime soon. I cannot rely on that being sustainable. Squad 2, can I get 600 build to my position north of
Hab is already
Novo?
inside this building, radio in second.
Command's position.
There's this one guy on our hab west of Mowgli. Lower Mowgli.
Yeah, no problem. What do you want?
Yeah, he's
Going
on
around.
600 build, yep, thank you. Fob has been
Alright, I'm
spawned
gonna wait
over north
for
of you
the
guys on
second. I gotta
movement.
wait for the repairs.
Sorry guys, we're going to be sitting here for just a second. I'm
That
waiting on
building is
600
slightly
build to be delivered
exposed.
to
You
me.
might be able to get a strike.
Icy, careful, he's nearby. He took
Yeah, I
north.
might be able to. I'm going to hold off for now.
I see.
Yeah, I'll go try to kill it one more time.
Okay, they're in the house.
Here you can really just see me observing. The heli's landing on offense, making that fob v fob I was talking about. The west is starting to look more and more sketchy. They're getting closer and closer. They finally start to take down that west fob, and we start to see a few people up in East Mogee taking down that fob that the other team built earlier, meaning that it could potentially be an attack coming from two angles, or it could just be people pushing off that western fob. I'm not entirely certain. Now at this point I've made the mistake of having a few people spawn shift to me. It's not too late just to drive them behind that fob on my move mark and take care of the defense, and I can choose to do that. I do have supply coming in as well to give me enough build to build a couple fobs if I decide to move up as well. I still have options available to me, so I decide I'm going to make the decision soon. Either I'm going to push that hab west and try to take care of the defense, or I'm going to go assist offense. I'm a firm believer of the general philosophy that no matter what's happening, whether you're on defense, offense, no matter what you're trying to accomplish on a flag, there's one fob that can be built that will resolve it in your favor, that will win the flag outright. And right now I'm trying to decide if I need to put that fob on defense or offense. Alright guys, fairly soon here I'm going to make a call for holding spawns. You can keep spawning lower mogee for now, but just be ready for that call, don't get distracted. We're going to be spawn shifting in the near future most likely, so get ready for that. Now I have a great team this round. This is not like the last round where the offense was totally sketchy and I had to sweep in and save it essentially and I pulled most of the weight. This is a good team, and I am only making up a fraction of this team's effectiveness. However, I do wish that the offense flag would have taken care of what I'm about to do themselves. They have it nearly sustainable, and it's pretty obvious to me with the hours I have exactly how they can resolve this, with either a fob behind the enemy fob, or a fob in some kind of centralized location with good cover to reach the enemy fob and a stealthy push on it. This is right on the verge of tipping one way or another, and there's an easy fob that could be built to push it one way or the other. In an ideal world, they would take care of this, but it's fairly high-level stuff. They're already very good players, and I'm absolutely not trying to bash on them, but they did need a little bit of assistance here. What I would like to be able to do right now is worry purely about airfield and my defense objective. I would like to be able to sit back and either solidify my defense, which I'm starting to feel a little bit sketchy about because I feel like my assistance is needed elsewhere, or prepare for airfield and get a spawn shift ready to happen so we can get that lightning fast mobility when they take Quarry. But because the offense isn't ideal, It's fine, it's good by Blueberry standards for sure, but not ideal. I have to go do something that ultimately is going to leave me in a worse situation on the 2 flags I should care about. This is the price that you pay when you create a squad with the intention of winning the game. If you just create the squad with the intention of being a good squad, that's easy. I would just go to airfield right now. I'd be in preparation for a leapfrog should it happen. I would be in preparation to defend my point and have that better suited. But ultimately I want to win the game, so I'm going to go stick my nose kind of where it doesn't belong into other people's territory and try to build the game-winning fob for Quarry, which we will see in this game has a negative impact on me and what I should be accomplishing on airfield later when we do take Quarry. Now, one other thing to notice is that I have a weird number of supply in my truck. I can't build 2 full fobs with ammo crates. I can still build 2 habs, but the second one's going to be shit with no ammo crate because one of the helis, I believe, brought me 500, and I think there was already a little bit of supply on that fob, while the other one brought me 600. So that's kind of annoying, but let's move on. Quarry was looking pretty nice. We were going to head for airfield, which is the next flag, but Quarry has deteriorated in the process, so we're going to build a second fob on Quarry. I'm going to send you guys into attack. And it's possible, it's most likely I'll just have you respawn back on defense when you die, but I'll
Can you
keep you
tell
posted.
squad 1 to move off?
10-4.
I may actually, we'll see. Plans might change. Quarry's really back and forth right now. Building you a new fob on Quarry, you can use to get a cheeky flank on theirs. The 2 of you who are with me, once this fob's up, you guys are just going to push the fob mark on
When it was north of.
Everybody else keep spawning defense, keep me posted still.
Well, we can't help it. So unbalanced.
It's okay. It's a poo-poo train.
C4's on radio, radio's done.
Thank you very much.
2 and
Saved
7,
me
don't
from
worry
having
about
to use
putting
an
down the
airstrike.
repair station. I'll handle it. Just
Yeah, we already got it done.
We'll just finish it.
And so, fantastic news, my engineer takes out that fob up there. I can breathe a little bit easier knowing that if a new attack comes from a new angle, I can react to that fine and don't have to go into full panic mode. And it also saves me from needing to use artillery should the worst happen there, and I'm able to prioritize my artillery for this fob, which is in way better position for it. It's in the open, it's a game-changing fob right now. It is their only thing contesting the objective that's allowing me to then try to proceed to steamroll the rest of the objectives. This is prime use of commander assets, so I decide to use the arty here quickly before leaving and getting ready for airfield. Static barrage is going down on enemy hab.
Came back to investigate.
They dug our ammo crate.
Oh,
Fuck,
yeah.
ammo now.
Yeah.
Careful of arty that I just called in, guys. Stay out of that radius. It extends further than it looks on the map.
Enemy house out there rolling in the lower.
Where's the heli?
Not really.
He's going up to the...
Yeah, he went northwest. Past lower.
Alright, we're definitely going to start resolving Quarry in our favor, so I'm getting ready to pick you guys up and take you to airfield. Due to some unfortunate miscommunication. Well, I guess I have enough for a hab, so it'll be fine. So get ready to pull back to move mark. We're all going to mount up soon. Not quite yet, but don't go so far that it's going to take forever, because time is going to be very important.
I'm going to be bringing my BTR in to help on Quarry, north side.
What's the cap status on Quarry?
Yeah, I just saw that he'll lower down, drop supplies.
Okay, start heading to move mark now. We are going to do a little early.
Everyone?
Yep.
Any radio on Quarry down?
The moment Quarry goes neutral, we no longer have to worry
Watch out on
about
the
cap
east.
status on
Lower
Mogee.
Mogee tight, enemy Black Hawk take off. Enemies in lower.
Oh, they're...
Copy.
Yeah, he's in the blue house.
Okay, kill that one guy, then head to move. Or just head to move, and if you die in the process, it's fine.
West side.
Okay, change of plans. I'm not picking you up. Keep pushing contact. Do not respawn if you go down. If you go down, hold for spawn. If you go down, hold for spawn.
He's inside the building.
If you're alive, protect lower Mogee as long as you can.
It's in the culvert. And the downhill.
Whole squad.
Okay.
West of Mowgli.
Hold spawns.
He's in the Quarry has been resquad.
Zoom in on lower
West
Mogee.
of Mowgli.
If we start losing cap on lower Mogee before Quarry goes neutral, we're going to have to respawn there. If we don't, keep holding spawns. It's going to be a very fine line. So zoom all the way in on the map on lower Mogee and let me know if you see cap start to go down. How soon till neutral on Quarry?
Close to
You know
50%.
that ditch south of school with the fucking pipe running through it? That's their new fob. North of lower.
You have FTL. So I'm a pretty big dumbass sometimes, and this is one of those times. When I left Quarry, I thought somebody else was in the truck with me, because I had that bug where you press F1 or you hop into a vehicle and you see two names. They were both my name. It's just a bug. But I didn't quite remember how many people I had actually taken to Quarry, and I thought somebody stayed on the truck, and I thought I had them in with me. So I go to place a fob on my lonesome, and realize the hard way that I'm a bit of a fuck up. Okay, still full cap, right? Hop out. Oh shit, who's in... Nobody was in the truck with me? Oh my god. That was bugged. I had a second person in on the F1 menu. Just a ghost person.
What's the Mogee cap status?
Motherfucker. It's fine. It won't double newt. Okay, go ahead and spawn at that hab north of fucking Nova.
Can I get a
I'll pick
repair
you up
station of
there.
Globo if there's no one?
God damn it.
I got it.
Oh, I hate that
Alright,
bug
man.
so much.
5's tank.
If you guys are on Mogee, work on dying. You can leave Mogee. I need your spawn soon.
I could use it north of Nova. Go see some.
Coming up quite a bit.
Get ready to spawn
Guys,
shift,
on
hold
board,
spawns
throw
when you
yourselves
die.
Please.
This'll work. I'm gonna stretch it.
Squad lead, where are we spawning?
On the
He's
fob
gonna
map
have a new
build.
fob up in a sec. You have to dump supplies though.
Yep, medic, please run a truck dump supplies. When you die on Mogee, hold spawns. If you're still alive on Mogee, work on dying, push into contact. Oh, that
on the
didn't
truck,
go
on
well. I'll try to res you, give me a sec.
I'm standing around getting shot.
They're east. They're already pushing north of airfield.
Cat, I'm gonna come help on that hab, see if I can build it up if we can clear it.
There's a lot of infantry, so be careful. This is
I think
probably burnt. Hold spawns for a sec. 10's gonna try to build it, but I doubt they're gonna be able to. And I'm gonna work on getting a different option in the meantime.
I mean, we could spawn east of Mowgli and then run out.
You can if you...
Bring no.
Okay, one person IC spawn with me at main, everyone else you can go ahead and try that. You're not going to be able to really attack airfield easily, but I'll get you a better fob while you guys are distracting on the west side. Time for some good old-fashioned mistake analysis. I done fucked up here. Let's take a look at how. First of all, I didn't get that second person. If we got that north fob that early, right as things were neutralizing, we almost definitely would have walked into airfield. Even if they had a fob there, people aren't usually spawning there that quickly. Second of all, when I went back, yeah, I flew a little bit close to the sun. I had just been there, so I wasn't too worried about it. But I probably should have realized from previous games that these were fairly active and fairly quick defenders, and that there was a decent chance that they already had a fob on airfield just because of the way the game normally goes. And ultimately, the likelihood of them expanding into that North Forest was fairly high. I probably should have considered that and gone for something a little safer. Fast spawn times and easy hab building make Squad a spawn-based game. It's that simple. At the highest level, if I were to build my fob even further north in Novo, it would not have been competitive. You have to get fobs down the enemy's throat if you want to outspawn them and outfight them in a majority of situations. So offense can be a little bit tricky when your hands are tied and you're going against active defenders. But we catch a lucky break here. Okay, 10 got the hab up, go ahead and spawn there. Massive props there. A lot of people treat armor like it's just better infantry. Like it can do all the things infantry does, just better. Like if you put it into any situation, it can resolve anything. The reality is armor is incredibly limited, especially in the type of fight they just got involved in. killing infantry in bushes and trying to rebuild a hab. The fact that they pulled that off was amazing, and also tells me there's probably not a ton of contact at airfield, so massive props to you, Squad 10. Keep a distraction going on the north side. If you survive long enough, I may be able to pull in the south.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find you on a map.
Sorry, it's a shit hab, but just work with it for now and I'll get you something better in a minute here. So the name of the game on offense is sneak the fuck in, take down their hab, and what they're doing on the north right now with my hab is purely distraction. I am entertaining no illusions that we are going to capture airfield from the north. This is something that separates me from a lot of pretty bad SLs. A lot of people will build a fob, get burnt, have shit terrain, and then just stick to that push over and over and over and over until they lose the fob and lose a fuck ton of tickets from KD. No, I am considering that north hab now to be completely a distraction, and now I am working on getting a flank. As such, I expect that fob to fail, and I start getting the call out that, of course, they are pushing north and overwhelming my squad.
They're all over this. Tell them to come back and sprint.
They didn't find the radio.
I'd rather they lived through the process, to be honest.
They're digging that head.
If you want to keep using the west one, go ahead. This is all just a distraction. It's never going to work, but you guys are buying me time. They, in this instance, is the APC squad. I don't know how they managed to get that fob up, and I never would have tried it in their situation. I would have just gotten away from the AT. And when my guy asks to call it back, I don't want to risk it. I don't want to risk our armor asset for a fob that's inevitably going to fail anyway. Especially since, even though this is a distraction, and even though while this is going on I stand a good chance of sneaking in from the south or the east, which is very good and helps my cause, I made a little bit of a fuck up. Currently, all of the lodges and the transports have the transport icon for the Russian team. It's a bug, it'll most likely be fixed within a matter of days, but it means I had to spawn at main blind trusting that this was a logi, and as you can see, it's a transport. So I can get a rally, but that's about it. So now I have to head towards what I know to be a logi truck, attempt to recover it, send it back to main if it doesn't have supplies, and then just deal with working off a rally for the time being. All of which is obviously very much not ideal. This has been a series of fuck-ups since taking Quarry. Now at this point it's worth going back and talking about what I was mentioning earlier. In an ideal world, I would like the offense squad to be handling offense and being prepared to leap over the defense squad to the next defense in line should the defense fail. And I would love for the defense squad to be handling purely defense, as well as getting ready to make quick maneuvers to push the next flag in line should the offense flag win. I can't blame everything on that, and I can't hold my team responsible for most of the fuck-ups I made here, but it would have run a lot smoother if I could have just immediately gotten to airfield and gotten ready for the spawn shift early with a fob that was already in position to do so. And once again, guys, I cannot stop saying this. Do not think I'm hagging on the team here. This is a above-average team. In fact, I would call it a pretty great team for a pub game. The only thing is, I'm trying to discuss very high-level gameplay here. And yes, it was my decision to go to offense, and yes, I am the one who is responsible for everything that I have done. I'm just trying to state the way it could have run better because it's good discussion to be having. I have no ill will for my team, and I am in fact very happy with their performance this game. Alright, I'm going to skip ahead 8 minutes in game time, which is an eternity here. When I finally make it to the east, Logi finally RTBs and makes it back up to me. At this point, I've gotten a rally down so my guys can push the east. They kept walking off that west fob even after the north fob was destroyed, which, of course, as I mentioned, was never going to work, but ended up being a good distraction, even if it was probably quite boring and frustrating for my squad. I kind of let them down there. But ultimately, another squad makes it in the south and starts contesting their fob in the middle as I'm building my east fob. The Quarry defense holds fine. Our blueberries do a great job there on defense. And finally, I get a close attack fob to the east after all of the trouble, and we're able to actually push across and start dealing with the point, even though the other squad's pretty much already neutralizing at this point and pretty much already has the fight taken to their hab. The team bailed us out here. They managed to get a good offense going long before I could, and ultimately my series of mistakes led to me basically being irrelevant for this match for almost 8 minutes, only managing a distraction northwest of offense that may have eased our south guys a little bit as they tried to push in. Not my proudest hour, but a good contrast from the early game, and a good demonstration of how things can quickly go wrong and put a squad out of position for a long amount of time. Now we start proxying and destroying the centralized fob. We basically have the objective in the bag, and so I start telling people about the next flag in line, other squads that is, in case anyone wants to leapfrog over us while we hold the defensive airfield. And ultimately the game ends with the full capture. Good shit on airfield. We are now on defense on airfield. Same as last time, get a little bit of a healthy spread. I want to know about attacks before they're on top of us, if possible. Alright, airfield is neutral, you're clear to move up.
Belly down.
There's AT on me, so they may discover the fob.
Would you like a leave on airfield?
Oh, and rifles on me right now, in this little ditch, coming from Nova.
A-firm, we're moving on.
Get ready for an attack from the north. Oh, never mind. GG, guys. Thanks everyone for communicating and listening. Love you all a long time.
Good job, man. Shot, man. Or Bean.
Good job,
Mr. Bean.
Now I'd like to take a moment, pause the screen here, and talk about what I think I could have done to make this match go infinitely smoother and potentially win the game significantly earlier with even higher ticket gap. Now, ultimately I liked to pin a little bit of the blame on the offense there for not doing kind of the what I would consider to be obvious move and placing the fob where I did, or placing a fob behind and really resolving that, thus allowing me to focus on my leapfrog. But ultimately, if we look back, I was still able to go do that and then get into position in time to do a very good spawn shift onto offense right as that objective went neutral. And of course, I fucked that up by not having the person with me. So it could be argued that I could have communicated with the other squad and tried to convince them to do what I did, although I think they were both burnt on their logi trucks and didn't have them available. Or if I just would have taken the guy with me initially, I could have gotten into airfield a lot easier, which is true. That may have made things go a lot smoother, and that could have been one thing that really messed me up. Or some might argue that even when I went back north and I picked those people up and came back south, if I had recognized that that situation or that position was probably now burnt and probably no longer a viable option, or even just panic rallied or did something to potentially get that fob up and get a better push from it immediately, maybe I would have taken airfield. But I would argue that there is one thing that would have been way more simple, that would have been very easy and would have allowed for the smooth level of teamwork that we had seen up till that point during the match. And that would have been if I had just called in artillery remotely from my fob on defense onto that west fob on offense. Now, I'm going to use this to transition into my hot take on the commander role. I played Project Reality back in the day, and the way that game worked was the same as Battlefield 2. If you took Commander, you were not part of a squad. It was an individual role, and it would give you all of the abilities that the Commander had, but you were not allowed to have anyone in your group with you. This allowed the Commander to focus entirely on big picture communication / teamwork and exactly how they want to be using their assets at any given time. Now, even in Project Reality, which was much more teamwork based than current squad, Commander still didn't have much sway over the team. Just like Squad, it's basically a democracy where all of the SLs come up with their plan together or against each other, whatever they have to do. The Commander doesn't hold much weight. He can make a little bit of persuasion every now and again and possibly influence some things, but it's not a strict chain of command. And Project Reality was no different. So largely what the Commander ended up being was kind of an over-glorified fire support. The guy who could call in the arty at the right time or call in UAVs and support the rest of the team as kind of a specialist, so to speak. Now, not everyone finds this to be fun, and I would say in more PR matches than not, there was no Commander for the team. And when I first heard that they intended to allow the Commander to be the lead of an infantry squad in Squad when they introduced it, I was actually quite impressed. It seemed like a good solution, allowing any SL to already do their job but also take on the added responsibility of that fire support aspect and not have it go to waste because somebody doesn't want to dedicate themselves entirely to it. However, I love that shit. If I could just be a single-man commander and sit there and talk to the team and try to influence things and try to call in fire support at the exact right times and everything, that would be a really rewarding role for me. So I was very disappointed to see them stick to their guns with this new concept and force it to be at least a two-man squad. That made absolutely no sense to me. I thought of various ways that I could double. I could make helicopter squads and then just be talking to the pilot directly and handling his comms while also being allowed to do my solo heli stuff. But then they made it so that CMD changed your squad name, which changed a lot of claim rules on a lot of servers. I also thought about doing pure logistics, but two-man logistics is okay, but it's also a bit of a detriment if you have 3 really good infantry squads. And then ultimately just having a person in your squad that you ignore isn't really the greatest option. Now you can glitch it, you could take commander and then kick the guy out who joined you and still maintain it. There are ways to still get around it and do one-man commander, but it's a massive pain in the ass and it's basically not worth doing in 90% of situations, which is something I'm very unhappy about with the way that commander was introduced to squad. Now we saw a lot of posts about this on Reddit about how the commander is basically just a super SL and how he has to choose between leading his squad or doing commander functions, and it was a bit of a hot debate for a while, but it kind of died down. I don't think anyone cares anymore. But reviewing this match and looking at where I consider the turning point to be, I would like to rekindle the argument that the commander should be allowed to be a solo role who is dedicated to his craft. Because had I been solo here as commander and had I been looking at the map for the entire time, purely dedicated to choosing how I wanted to use my assets, well, as commander, I always rely on using my assets for fob killing, as I believe that is the foundation of offense and defense. And ultimately, if I was looking at the map here and I saw 2 active enemy spawns, one that was northwest of the defense that seemed to be reasonably sustainable and was in a building that I couldn't hit, and then one to the west of Quarry that was completely contesting the capture from being almost an easy wipe and allowing the defense to move on to the next flag, the solution would have been obvious. But instead, I was predominantly focused on squad leading, and my philosophy was, where can I build a fob to resolve this, not where can I drop Artie, because I wasn't keeping my mind open enough. I wasn't concentrating on both commander and SL, because that's just so much information. I missed my 30-minute window where I had Artie available, and I was failing to look at the map with my Artie in consideration and think about how I could use it to win the game. So all the while, when there's a situation that Artie can completely win and completely put our team into a fantastic position when it's used, I was not thinking about it because I took commander offhand because nobody else grabbed it just to start cooldowns in case it came in handy. I totally backdoored it as the, quote, super SL, unquote. And so instead of preparing for airfield and getting that early fob in the same location but with much better timing and getting everything ready for that perfect knife-edge spawn shift to completely dominate through mobility, while also taking a quick break to drop Artie, I drove over there in my SL mindset thinking, as I normally do as SL, where can I place the game-winning fob, not how can I be using Artie right now. Anyway, I felt about this since the release of Commander, but it's kind of funny to go back on this match and look back and realize that it was actually kind of responsible largely for how this game went, so I figured this is a good time as any to revive this discussion. Oh, and also, despite the fact that I chose to look at this through the lens of game design and commentate there, this is also my mistake. Yeah, I don't think this is ideal game design, but also I should have been accounting for it, and I should have been at least aware of my artillery, which is a one-time 30-minute very easy to memorize stat, and I should have been thinking about that as an option. This is a mistake of mine, even if I also consider it to kind of be a mistake of the way the game is designed. And on that note, have a good one. I'll see you guys in the next video.